Good morning, Peter Franklin, Gabby Cabby. Good morning.
Good morning, live from the beautiful streets of New York City.
You sound much better this week. You were a bit under the vocal weather last week.
Yes, I went to Congress and they groped me and it was all better.
Wow. Can you, Peter, what is going on in the world?
I don't know, but I suspect, my good friend, it's always been going on. It's just now the media is having a frenzy. It's the story of the day, so it goes on and on and on and on and on. And it really shouldn't come as a surprise to most people, because most of these people that are getting in trouble now, we all knew was sleazy, but we just didn't kind of talk about it.
Yeah. Well, boy, oh boy. So let's talk something fun, like Giants season tickets.
You want 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000?
It is that bad, right?
Absolutely unbelievable. The stadium will continue to be empty for the balance of the home games, and people are trying desperately to give them away. So if this is the time that somebody wants to go see a pro football game, and it's a combination of things. Some people are saying they're doing it as a protest to the NFL. Some people are saying they're doing it because they're just playing so terribly. The fact of the matter is, people aren't going. I think I saw the figure. This may not be correct, but there was something like 8,000 available seats for the next game.
You know, the one thing that where I don't believe in the whole boycott of the NFL is that the majority of NFL players are not kneeling. The majority of NFL players are standing for the national anthem. And while there are some that are certainly participating, if you have a problem with that, I'm not sure that just not going. Then again, I'm a big fan. But and I don't think are there many Giants players that are kneeling? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
No, we're the sophisticated New Yorkers.
That's
Listen,
right.
out of respect to you, I don't know if you're aware of it, and I've known you for years and years. When I talk to you on the telephone, I'm actually kneeling right now.
You are kneeling. Wow. I appreciate that. Actually, that is a gesture of honor, to be honest.
Exactly. Just in case you know, that's why my knees hurt.
My wife is all over this story, the Audrey Hepburn story that you have. She's a huge fan and loves all of that stuff. And New York is the place to go if you want to kind of relive some of those classic moments. And you have an interesting story here from Tiffanys.
Yeah, you know, the problem with it is that it eliminates a wonderful myth that people can talk about, because I vaguely remember that movie, 40 years ago?
Yeah.
I vaguely remember the movie, and of course the big discussion was, gee, wouldn't it be nice to go to Tiffanys and have breakfast?
Yeah.
And then you'd be able to say to somebody, no, there really isn't such a thing. It's sort of like, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Who's buried in Grant's tomb? Grant.
Right,
I mean, it's a New York thing. Well, they've just screwed it up. I think it's charming that they're going to do it, but they've just screwed up that myth, because now you're going to actually be able to go to Tiffanys, and they're going to have a little cafe there. And on the website, I listed some of the prices for the food. It sounds like it's owned by my brother-in-law. You know, the prices are, of course, outrageous. But you got to admit, that's a pretty cute thing to do with your honey, you know? Let's go to Tiffanys for breakfast.
I got to tell you, and the numbers aren't all that bad. You know, an average breakfast might cost you $29, $39 for lunch. For, you know, midtown prices, that's certainly pretty competitive.
Yeah, and not to turn this into a full-fledged commercial, it gives you a good idea as to what's going on in the other world, because you can't afford everything in the world. If it gets you, I'm talking about the jewelry, but it's a heck of a, it's like walking through a museum.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So it's one of my highly recommended walking tours that you ought to do. And they're really very nice, because there is no dress code, really, and nobody there will treat you badly, because you could be the richest person in upstate New York, and they're not going to know.
Ladies accused New York City actor RichardDreyfuss. I saw this, too, as long as we were talking a little bit about these sexual charges. But Dreyfuss, I felt like his response was really good. What was your take on RichardDreyfuss?
Yeah, well, I like the guy, and as I point out on the website, I once had him in the cab as a passenger, and he was really a very pleasant thing. I guess that's the ultimate test. When a big shot gets into my cab and they're pleasant and nice and interesting and everything, it's, you know, you kind of think, well, that's a nice guy or something. So that's the only reason I'm highlighting it, not to smear him in any way, because it's probably, I mean, I'd hope to think that it was just some terrible, terrible misunderstanding, if such a thing is possible.
Well, he said he kind of felt like he was just flirting, and and that she didn't stop it.
Well, everybody's being very careful.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be very, very careful now in this period of time not to flirt. I think they're killing flirting for that very reason. You better be very, very careful.
Pink and white dog houses that you can rent by the minute. What is this?
Yeah, well, if you're going to go into a restaurant, unless it's an outdoor restaurant, and even then they don't allow it, what are you going to do with Poochie Poochie? Maybe you don't want to leave them back in the house. You're certainly not going to put them in a kennel just so you to have a lunch. So they have these boxes, which should look like pet carriers. They're starting to appear at restaurants, so that you go to the restaurant with your friend, and your friend the dog stays in a little bit of a house outside. There's a picture at Gabby.com. It's kind of cute. I don't think I could do that because, frankly, I'd be a little bit uncomfortable sitting in a restaurant and having lunch while Poochie is in a box outside.
And finally, it is Thanksgiving week. Of course, security is always big for the Thanksgiving Day parade, and a lot of people are going to be flying out of town for Thanksgiving. In New York,
it's going to be really terrible. LaGuardia and Kennedy and Newark, they're going to be millions and millions of people. Everybody's going to be rude to each other. Here's my advice. Stay home. Just stay in your nice house. Have a few relatives over. Don't get into fights and relax. Don't go onto an airport or a plane or a train. Oh, God, that would be terrible.
I got to tell you, the Thanksgiving Day parade, you have such a great view watching from your living room.
Yes.
Yeah, and listen, the secret, by the way, if anybody is coming down here, let me give you the secret tip, is it's not so much the parade, it's the setting up of the balloons, which they do at 81st Street in Central Park West. And that's where you want to go the evening before the parade, which would be, of course, Wednesday night, to watch them setting the whole thing up.
I bet that's
then
quite a
on
sight,
Thanksgiving Day, watch it on television. So that's a travel advisory. Go to the setup.
Peter, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next week. It's Gabby.com. Best tour in New York City. Thank you so much. She'll take you to places like that he's saying that you wouldn't even know about.